they're right there, bro. Like you could. And she. Oh no!
Oh shit!
Oh damn!
It's over 9.
What is going on, guys? It's your boy Nagi. I'm here with my fellow co-host here, Maru.
What's going on, guys?
We are the filler. I just wanted to express the reason why we're doing this episode. Maru here definitely reached out to me and said that it is okay if we don't film this episode because of recent events. We both are not into a position to where we are ultimately too thrilled to have anything exciting. I'm pretty sure that a lot of everybody's spirits are very high in terms of emotions, and there's a lot going on in the world. But we feel like at the same time, there is an obligation for us to speak intelligently about the events that are happening and bring awareness to it. We do also have an obligation to provide entertainment to you guys at the same time, not really necessarily removing the spotlight from all of the events that are taking place, but more so just to deliver a small bit of happiness in your lives and in our lives, because we are still human at the end of the day, and we are putting up a hell of a fight in terms of what's happening. And even in war, there are moments where there's the little things that really keep us, moving forward in terms of little beacons of hope. So we're gonna move forward. Maru, take it away.
Yep. I just want to say, obviously, I don't think you really have to wonder, I guess, but we totally support the protests, totally support the movement. If anybody follows Nagi on Twitter, you can see he is super passionate about it, and he has a lot of people rallying behind him. So I just want to say we fully support it, 100%, not even a question. So but yeah. So to get into the entertainment part, the topic for this week is going to be Destiny. I don't know, did you get to see the actual, because they released the teaser, but it was an accident apparently, and then they took it off?
I saw the teaser. I saw the Eris Morn teaser. I saw the trailer that you see when you booted up Destiny today.
Yeah.
I saw that little teaser, so I did get to see the trailer. I did get to see them.
What's your thoughts on it? What's your thoughts first on the one that you see when you boot up the actual game?
I was kind of expecting a lot more. I feel like there was a lot of buildup with that trailer. Like I was live when I was watching it. And when I was watching it, they had the really ominous music happening, and it was just like really dark and gritty and like super intriguing. And then you saw the planet, and then you saw the tip of a ship, and I'm like, oh, that's it. But then it hit me. It's like, wait, I remember that planet. Oh, that means that these people, they're close. They're like close.
They're ready.
They're right there, bro. Like you could. And she. Oh no!
Oh shit!
Oh damn! Bro, my fault. So it's like, you know what I'm saying. So that kind of brought the exciting factor to me.
Yeah.
For that trailer.
Yeah, it was short but sweet, and I honestly also was expecting more, but I was like, you know what? Sometimes less is better, because if you think about, I was thinking about the whole thing when the moon, when that campaign was coming out, where you were like, oh, we're gonna go to the moon, and then you kind of saw all the enemies coming back. I was like, I kind of wish I would have played the campaign and then seen that firsthand instead of knowing already, like, hey, we're gonna go and fight all these guys already. So I kind of am appreciating the fact that they're giving us less to see. If you think about like movie trailers, sometimes you watch a trailer and you kind of see the whole movie play out. Right, so I was appreciating the last part of it. But I agree. The trailer that actually came out, I think it was on the Instagram account, and they deleted it apparently. That one was looking good. I saw Eris, and she was like on some ice planet. I think she was on Europa, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Europa.
And the biggest thing that intrigued me about that was that she was doing something with her hands, and it had like, everybody's speculating now that we're gonna get a new class because of what she was doing. Like, everybody's trying to figure it out, but we also got to understand that she does hive magic, so it could be totally something with the hive. So, but that was a good, interesting teaser that gave us a lot, but also a little at the same time, if that makes any sense.
It makes a lot of sense. One thing particular though, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on is that the hive magic. I know she does hive magic, but I don't think that had anything to do with hive magic. The reason why I say that is because out of all of the events that has transpired over the course of Destiny 2, right? There's two main things that have been super, super, super important. One was in Forsaken, the Dreaming City, and um, damn, dang, that
Damn, boy.
that was really just one of the most important things that I can remember. Because I mean, what's happening currently right now in Destiny with Shadowkeep is it's important, but I think the only real hard hitting expansion that we've had that didn't feel really lackluster was Forsaken. If you noticed, um, in her hand, you kind of like to me, it kind of looked like very very specific to the aesthetic of the Dreaming City. It looked like a lotus flower. It looked like, you see what I'm saying? And if you
Yeah,
look at the aesthetic of the Dreaming City, there was a lot of symmetrical detail in all of the designs that had to do with it, all the way down to the actual location of the Dreaming City, right? So it looked like that to me. Now, that of course that would bring me to try to figure out or understand why Eris Morn would be connected to the Dreaming City. What does that have to do with anything? But then at the same time, with the Garden of Salvation, there was like that situation happening. Even though it didn't really necessarily have a lot to do with the Dreaming City, there is some slight indication where all of this is kind of coexisting and connected. I highly doubt that it would be a situation that where they won't connect it, even if it's a scenario to where it might not necessarily be a part of the Dreaming City. But all of these events kind of have to mesh well with what's coming next. You
all
see
the
what I'm
dots
saying?
are connecting, and that
Right.
was a big issue that everybody had, is that they had all these stories like everywhere, but nothing really was coming to like a conclusion. And I'm hoping that this next expansion that comes out in September is kind of like the tie that ties it all together, and then afterwards, we go into like a new enemy or new content, because
Right.
there's a lot of stories obviously that we want to know come to fruition. Basically everybody is still wondering how the curse is going to break, and everybody's still waiting for Savathun, and then obviously we got the pyramids coming, so it's one of
Right.
those things. do
Just a lot of
you do you think in the next season we're going to get a new class, or maybe the classes get revitalized in some kind of capacity?
honestly, I would not be against it, but I do want to express I don't remember, I don't know if it was Rage, ironically, that we're bringing him up in this conversation. I don't know if it was Rage who tweeted this. I remember somebody tweeting it. I do think it was him, where I don't know if I'm pretty sure that the veterans and everybody remembers that when they got like the exotics and when they got legendaries and when they got subclasses, in order for you to unlock certain things, you had to play with those things, right? I think, bear with me, I think that with this new expansion, we should really get back to that root to where it's like in new subclasses in order to because I feel like like it was originally like that to where we kind of had to play to get XP and then we had to unlock it using the motes of light and stuff like that we were getting, like the feathers,
Yeah.
stupid goddamn feathers. There's like it was situations like that, but then in the process, in the transition of new light happening, they kind of just gave everybody a subclass. But I think that mechanic should definitely be put across all boards in terms of weapons as well as abilities. But to answer your question, I just wanted to throw that out there. But to answer your question, I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't really put any new thought into it. Of course, if there's a new subclass, I mean, of course, everybody would be really hyped about that. But why would there be a new subclass? Is really what my attention is really focused on. What about my guardian is going to subject? Because it's always been three.
Yeah.
Three has always been the number. You see what I'm saying? So three not only always being the number, three subclasses have always been the case, right? It's always been three classes across the board: Titan, Warlock, and Hunter, right? So it's like to apply a fourth would make a lot of other things kind of like teeter. So how would we really apply the idea of having a fourth subclass? Not only that, where would that power be coming from? How is that going to tie into the connections that we've made so far in the story as well as the game? What is going to necessarily be a part of the game now when you have people like the Drifter, who is not only on like one spectrum, but he's obviously dealing in stuff that we have no idea. We got weapon. The malfeasance is a weapon that's literally like that weapon in itself is literally an item that is a balance between light and dark. Like we're literally dealing with things that we have no idea what we're dealing with, and it's something that really rises the question of if we were to get that subclass, if we were to get those new abilities, where would that power be coming from, and what does that mean for our guardians? You know what I
Well,
mean?
I had like, and obviously I'm no like storyteller, but I was thinking a way they can implement that. And I don't know if I would want a fourth subclass, but I do get the fact that people want a little bit of a change up. But if
Right.
they were to implement that, I would think it'd be something with like the pyramids come in and somehow they start draining your power so you don't have a subclass and you unlock this new subclass maybe using the darkness. Because basically we're getting subclass from the traveler, which is the light. So, and if they're draining the light and we don't have access to that, the only thing we can do now at this point is go to the darkness and get a power. And then that's when we kind of have that thing where we're balancing between the light and the dark. And maybe we use that darkness to be able to get our subclasses back or something like that. But I was thinking about that because that's been the conversation since almost since Destiny came out. We'll always think about, oh, how are we going to use the darkness? How are we going to use maybe hive magic or something like that? So I was thinking that maybe possibly we can do something like that in either this expansion coming out or like in the future.
During I forgot the YouTube. But there was a YouTuber that came out with a specific Destiny video, and I'll never forget it. But he went deep into the lore, just like some of our fellow community members, such as Bife and so on and so forth. But he went deep into the lore. He started going deep into the messages and the lore cards that you had to unlock on the website that wasn't necessarily in game, and et cetera, et cetera. And he, the conversation of whether or not the traveler is actually for the light. You know what I'm saying? Because ultimately, every guardian is a zombie that doesn't know what they did to the life prior. Not only that, there's still a lot of loose ends. You see what I'm saying? Like Cade 6 is still dead, but you still got the person who took him out awake and alive with a ghost out of nowhere, somewhere
Around
in
here.
the world. Nobody, you know what I'm saying? Like he's just dwelling in certain areas. So it's like, where is he? What is that going to happen? And then, of course, you got the conversation that people have had to where it's like, okay, Cade had a lot of secrets, and you already know that. And with the situation, with that being the situation, with that being the case, anybody who what I'm saying? We already know that situation. Anybody who kills the Hunter Vanguard has to take the spot of the Vanguard. So you got this person who has no recognition, like no memory of what he did prior to his life. He has no idea what he's caused.
Why people
And
hate him
now
so much.
Right. And now now there's a possibility to where he might be getting the job that works with the people who can't stand him. But
Yeah.
it might end up having to be him. Not only that, the speaker is still missing. We don't even know what that's about. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of loose ends that are there, but like that idea of conversation being had is just exactly what you're saying. Like, where would that power come from? And if that power is obtained in some rambunctious way, like what would be the cost? If we would have to go to the darkness, what would be the cost? Or have we been actually getting power from a dark source this entire time?
We
Like,
didn't even
that's
notice.
also another question we didn't even know. Like, is the traveler, you know what I'm saying? Like, this type of conversation really starts to have you thinking of whether or not the traveler is really the good guy in the situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, is Rasputin really a defender of good? Like, have we been deceived this entire time? You know what I mean? That honestly would be a crazy cliffhanger in terms of where Destiny can go, how Destiny can move forward in the storyline. Can you imagine the final, you know what I'm saying, the final expansion of the final game, whatever sequel, whatever the situation may be, the literal final expansion would have us versus the Traveler? Can you imagine that?
Everybody go around
Like,
just start shooting the ball.
bro, like have, you know what I'm saying, like actual, X-Wing battle fight, you know what I'm saying?
24-man raid.
Right, like a 24-man raid, and it starts off with you in an actual, like in one of your ships with a legitimate spaceship fight.
I've still been
down.
asking for that, man. Everybody's asking for SRL, and I've been asking for like X-wing fights.
Nah, bro, I want to fly in my ship. I want to fly in my ship specifically. I don't care about SRL. When do I use a Sparrow? I don't care about Sparrow.
I would, because have you ever played Warframe?
Yeah.
Yeah, Warframe has that, you build your ship type thing and you kind of decorate it, and then they just introduced like ship battles. And I always thought that'd be something cool because obviously this is a space shooter MMO RPG, whatever you want to call it. And I always felt like I always say this when people bring up, oh, what do you want different in Destiny? And it's always, I want more RPG in it. I want more role playing. And a lot of people are like, oh, you have role playing with like weapons and armor, and I was like, that's weapons and armor though. I like there's so much more you can do, and I always thought that when Bungie was working with Activision, I was always like, oh, they have Blizzard right there, they have World of Warcraft. There's no way this is not going to get to that kind of aspect. And obviously everything that happened. But what's the one thing that you want to see come in? Because obviously back in the day, you and me and a lot of other people, we were on Destiny every day, all day, playing. We probably didn't touch any other game. So what's the one thing that they can do right now that'll bring you back to that kind of aspect of playing like religiously every day?
Honestly, the one thing, and it's funny that you bring that up because I was legitimately having a conversation about this yesterday while I was in stream. One of the main things that had kept people consistently playing Destiny was the god roll factor and the opportunity of having that godly gun. So I painted this picture on stream yesterday, and this is another thing that you can use this in, and it's obviously going to be here. But let me just give you insight on what it is that I was saying. In order for you to get the Fatebringer, I constantly bring up the Fatebringer because that was one of the most influential. That was the weapon, right, in terms of PvE. So you have the Fatebringer. Think of how you had to obtain the Fatebringer, right? In order for you to get the Fatebringer, you had to finish the Vault of Glass on hard, and it was a random drop. It wasn't guaranteed, right? But once you got it, Vault of Glass was still hard. You just had something that made you a little bit more of a better fighter, but Vault of Glass was still hard, right? Cool. So you have that, but essentially that was a god roll weapon, and you use that weapon for the next 2 or 3 expansions, right? What if that was the scenario for every single season? One weapon that was a random drop on the hardest activity that was hard no matter what light level you were at. As you grow in power, the game grows in difficulty with you. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what, like you obviously want to gain power. There's obviously a cap, but what I'm starting to realize is that power cap is it makes you overly powerful against what you're fighting. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But even in the hardest difficulties of things, there's no real necessary reason to play these hard activities outside of getting more light or more power. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you have endgame content like trials, and that's really what people are grinding power for. Trials. Because that's where the viewership is, right? That's the business. But then there's PvE. So what do you say about that? There should never be a god roll for PvP. There should be a god roll for different archetypes. There should be a god roll auto rifle, a god roll hand cannon, god roll sniper, god roll shotgun, god roll. You're saying all this instead of
when you say that though, there shouldn't be a god roll for PvE. You're saying that there shouldn't be a weapon that dominates while playing PvE.
No, there should be a god roll for PvE, but it should be one particular thing, and you can literally switch it during the seasons because there's numerous archetypes, right?
So like next season, let's say next season comes out next week, you're saying there should be a hand cannon god roll for PvE, and that's it.
For PvE, and that's it. And it could literally switch, and you can even have it be a situation to where, like, let's say that, because again, for the expansions in D1, right, the fight was brought to a main enemy, right? So for the original Destiny, for the original campaign for Vault of Glass, it was Vex, right? The Fatebringer. What was Fatebringer? It was Firefly, and it did arc damage, right? That was mainly it. It did arc damage and it did Firefly. What was the main damage point for Vex? It was arc, right? That was really what was doing the most damage. It did arc damage. It did things against arc shields. It did damage against arc shields, and it was a primary weapon. right? Now, let's say that you have that same exact factor, but let's say that you're going up against the Scorn. Scorn is what? Solar. It's mainly solar, right? Let's say that you're going up against Scorn. And the God roll for that season, whatever season it is, was a shotgun. But in order to get that shotgun, it was a random drop for the hardest difficulty of the game. But the hardest difficulty of the game was not based on your power level. Your power level made it so that you had a better shot, but it wasn't a guaranteed dominate. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The game progressively got harder with you. It wasn't a guaranteed completion. Right now, it really feels like it's a guaranteed completion. So things feel lackluster. You know what I mean?
So
one season it's a hand cannon, one season it's a shotgun, one season it's a sniper rifle. The season where it's a sniper rifle, you have a lot more long-ranged enemies, but let's say the big bad boss doesn't really take that much damage from a sniper rifle. So you have a sniper rifle for the everything around it, but let's say that there's more damage, particularly in the mechanic. Let's say that there's more damage that makes a sniper rifle a little bit less effective in the fight. Not necessarily removing the necessity, that's not a word, not necessarily removing the necessity of the weapon, because what's the point of having a season where a sniper rifle is effective for PvE for all of the little bodies, but the big body don't really take damage. It being a god roll means that it has a specific perk on that, what makes that weapon necessary during that season. You see what I mean?
So here's the problem though with that for like
Okay.
looking at it from my perspective, and I totally agree with you. So basically, you're saying they should bring back pinnacle weapons in a sense, but it should just
No.
be like
No, not pinnacle weapons, because with pinnacle weapons, it was a guaranteed drop. You had to do a specific
true,
thing
yeah.
in order to get that weapon. No,
You're saying random. So
Rand RNG.
so here's the
Period.
thing with that, and these are the two examples I have, or two
Okay.
things I'd say about that. One is that let's say you get that drop. For me, and I'm a collector, so I want to get everything.
100%.
Primarily not a PvP player. I mostly play PvE. So once I get that weapon, one, I have no reason to play anymore. That's one. But the second thing, and the what's coming to my head right now is I think about Mindbenders. And I think it was Triple Wreck who played for like 16 hours and got like maybe 5 drops, and none of them were the god roll. So those are the two things I think about. One is that once I get it, okay, I have nothing to play now, and we're still back in the same aspect where like, oh, I got everything, and there's nothing for me to do, and I barely play trials. And two is just like I don't want to grind the same activity, for 16 hours and complete it 100 times, get 4 drops, and none of them are the god roll. Because then I feel like all the time I invested was pretty much a waste, and I'm gonna get upset. So those are the two things. And I agree with you that there should be a weapon like that. But
I know what you're saying.
These are the problems I run into.
Right, and that's 100% fine. And it wouldn't be necessarily a conversation if everyone was to just agree with me. Of course, you want to bring up factors that would kind of trump what it is that I'm trying to say. And I fully expect that, and I'm open-minded to that. My response to that, though, is that's D2 RNG. We have to fix D2 RNG, obviously. That's
100%.
probably addressed.
I still don't
right?
have 1K.
Right. I don't have 1K, but then again, I don't do PvE. But Triple Rex said that he played X amount of time to get a God Roll Mindbenders, and that's fine, right? But that has to do with the random drops of RNG. Now, if it's a situation to where you have if it's a situation to where you have a scenario to where it's kind of like it was in D1, to where you're playing, for instance, Aya's Luna, right? You can have a God Roll Aya's Luna while playing on D1, but people started to find out that they were able to drop more during Rumble matches or some shit, right? So people started farming Rumble matches, and you had more indication for Aya's Lunas to drop, but there was no guarantee that you were going to get a God Roll. But it kept pushing you to play that specific playlist. So there's that. The answer to that would be to fix to fix RNG. To fix that. That would be the necessary thing, right? 2, the answer to the necessity to have the reason to play after you get that, you know what I'm saying, that God Roll weapon. And my answer to that is, why did people consistently play after getting Fatebringers?
Because they wanted to use it and dominate.
They wanted to use it and dominate. But at the same time, it wasn't like it was a situation where you were really like the overpowered person on the team. You were just the more effective.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. People are overpowered in Destiny right now. That's the problem. We have too much power now. You see what I'm saying? And that's not okay.
I
That's really
think,
not.
and I haven't personally played it, but I have watched people and I have seen the discussions. The
Mhm.
Grandmaster Nightfall, which is like the extremely hard difficulty, I feel like all they really did was just increase the difficulty, but it's still not effective. And the reason I say that is if you go into that and you're max level, you're as high as you could possibly be, whatever it is, and you're
Right.
going against these for instance the Vex, you're pretty much gonna get two tapped as soon as you come out of cover. There's
Right.
nothing. There's no abilities in the game or nothing you can do in the game that can prevent that. And you can say, oh, well, Titans can put up shields. First of all, the time to activate that takes forever, so you're most likely still gonna get two shot, and the shields
Right.
get decimated in 2 seconds also. So I feel like, and this is something that you got to go completely to the drawing board, is that the gameplay in the game is too simplistic, in the fact that all you're doing is shooting or staying in cover. And yeah, you have abilities, but that's more like everything else. I feel like it's more for works for PvP. But when it comes to PvE and the hard aspect, all they're doing is that the enemies do more damage, so you get to get two shot, and that's it. So basically, and it's not fun for me because you're staying in cover, you get a couple
Mhm.
shots in, you go back into cover, and you keep doing that, and that's it. And that's
Right.
why increasing difficulty doesn't make it fun for me or challenging, because really half the time I'm in cover.
Okay, I feel that. I feel that, and that's fine. And then again, my response to that really leads into the aspect of making things to where you're capable, but not making things too easy. There has to be a situation to where, yes, I understand the idea of actually having the fight, but there has to be a scenario to where things cannot just be handed to us anymore because that makes everything lackluster. Yes, the game can be story driven, it can be captivating, it can be enjoyable, but the moment that's gone, the moment that hype, because we already know the situation, right? Destiny has a hype factor towards every expansion, towards every unlock, to where everything is multiplied and magnified and all the hype is real and da da da, and then it dies down. And then you have the PvP players carrying the game. And then PvP is shit. So it's like, come on.
You're
You know what
always
I
just
mean?
waiting for the next thing.
It ends up you waiting for the next thing, and you got people like GSLR, is it Clyde? You got
Yeah,
people like
Clyde.
Clyde
Yeah.
who does Sherper raids daily, back to back to back to back to back. Think about him. Think about how grueling that must be. Of course, he loves it. He appreciates it because it's Destiny. We all love Destiny, but as a PvP player, I want to be able to play the game and not hate what I'm doing. There's some times where I want to play Destiny, but I hate the fact that it has to be PvP because that's the only thing that maintains my. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want to be able to play PvE. I want to enjoy PvE. I want it to be fun, but I don't want it to be too easy because then I'm gonna just run through stuff. What am I running through stuff for? You know what I'm saying? If the game is going to be easy at that point, at least make sure that when I'm running through stuff, it's for a cause. And to touch back to what you said, and then we could close it out here. In terms of it being a pinnacle weapon, it would have to be a situation to where it would have to be an RNG drop. The difference between pinnacle weapons and weapons like the Fatebringer or the Black Hammer was that it was RNG. And pinnacle weapons, you just completed the necessary steps and you got the weapon, right? But the thing about pinnacle weapons is that there was a particular perk that was only on that weapon. That's what I want. I want it to be that weapon that only has that perk that's only good for that season. That makes it a situation to where Bungie has to stay on their game in order to make the next pinnacle weapon that's good for that season for PvE. But it only can be good for PvE. When they make that weapon, they have to immediately, after they take it and after they make it and do whatever they create, the creative process is, they make that and then they take it into PvP to see how it affects Guardians on a PvP scale. Why? Because they was not aware of how Recluse was going to be effective in that aspect. They was not aware of how that was going to be. They was not aware of how crazy Mountaintop Recluse was going to be. They did not know that those two as a combination was going to be that bad. So they
It
have to
dominated,
they
and
have to
nobody
take
changed their loadout the whole time.
nobody. So they have to take the weapons that they create and literally put them into any and every aspect of the game. And I know it takes a lot more work. I know it takes a lot more time. And I know that, you know what I'm saying, like timestamps need to be considered and time frames and release dates. I get that. I understand that wholeheartedly and fully. So of course, I know for a fact that what I'm suggesting may be a little bit too far fetched in certain scales when it comes down to the industry necessities. I get that. But if my point and my statement, and then we can close it out, is if we could get relatively as out the job or the objective, and this is for all gaming, right? Not every game is perfect, but this is for all gaming, especially now. The goal is to get it as close to the bullseye as possible. As close to the bullseye. In games like Destiny, there's never going to be a perfect shot. It's never going to be 100% accurate. But getting it as close to the bullseye as possible is the objective.
100%.
There's that.
Cool. Well, Nagi, want to thank you, obviously, for taking the time out. Appreciate you letting us show this episode.
Sure.
Usually, so far, what is this, episode 4, I think? Episode
Yes.
4 right now. We always do a shout out at the end of the episode, and we usually shout out an individual. But this time, we're just going to shout out the whole Black Lives Matter movement. Everybody who's out there, everybody who's donating, everybody who is participating in the discussion in a healthy and respectful manner, and also backing up what they say by doing other things other than, it's easy to put up a hashtag, but going a little bit beyond that matters a lot. So everybody who is participating and doing that, I just want to give you a big shout out. We love you. We support you. And yeah, man, it's a scary time. Be safe, be respectful, educate yourself, and when you see stuff on the media, don't automatically think it's the truth. Do your research. There's a lot of things out there you see, and you see it from one aspect, and I'm guilty of it. I'll see something and I'm like, wow, that's crazy, and then 2 tweets later I see another video from a different angle and I'm like, well, damn, you really got to research everything, so don't always jump the gun on it. But I think in these times there is hope. I honestly believe there's hope. If there wasn't, then I wouldn't even be doing anything anymore. I do believe there's hope, but enough's enough. And I think this time it's not about the color of your skin. It's not about if you're white, black, blue, Asian, gay, straight, whatever it is. At the end of the day, we're people. We have feelings. And and I'm Puerto Rican. I'm Spanish. I haven't dealt with racism because of the color of my skin. But my father, my grandmother, everybody on that side of the family is extremely dark skinned. And they have experienced that. So even though I haven't personally experienced it, I do have the empathy to understand. And at the end of the day, it's just nobody's asking for a handout. Nobody's asking, oh, I want this or that. They're just asking for the opportunity to be treated equally. And that's what it is. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. But I'm not going to get too deep into it. Obviously everybody knows how I feel. Nagi, totally knows I support him and everything. But just check on your friends, man. Check especially on your black friends. Make sure they're okay. And do anything you can to support.
In addition to that, there's a lot of people who know me. There are a lot of people who are beginning to know me. What you guys don't know is that I've always been this way. I've always been this type of individual that really did not care about the repercussions of my actions when I knew that what I was standing up for was right. You guys have seen me be passionate about comics, anime, and video games. And I really want to put a lot of attention on all of the people out there who are working actively and passionately to bring attention to the situations that are happening. Not only bringing awareness to the darkness of what's going on and bringing awareness to the very difficult things to see. I know it's hard to look at, but this is hard to look at for you guys now. This is what we've been experiencing in our day-to-day lives forever. We've been dealing with this, and I'm really happy that you guys are starting to see vividly about what's going on. And some of you even experiencing it firsthand. Shout out to all of the people out there who are still being positive influencers, even in these times. Shout out to Black Girls Anime, who is consistently bringing attention to beautiful Black women who are trying their very best to make it in their creativity, to make it in their passions, to make it in their careers and in their paths, to do the things that they love to do, whether it be cooking, cosplay, journalism, whether it be design, whether it be anything of the field. Shout out to Hey Jasmine, who's a partner here on the Mixer platform, who is doing things like computer engineering. I may be messing all of this up because they all have their individual particular things that they care about. But all of the Black women on the Mixer platform that are doing their very best, people like, again, Hey Jasmine, people like Miss Fun Size, people like V. Me and her was having a conversation today. It's just, my point is this. As bad as it is, we really just want to live. Shout out to the ones who are bringing the darkness to the light, and shout out to the ones who are consistently bringing light in these dark times. And that's really all I have to say about that.
Nagi, you're my brother. I love you, bro. Everybody who
Me too.
watched the episode, thank you. Appreciate you guys. You know, we're here. If you need anything, just reach out, hit us in the DMs, whatever it is. And we definitely got you. So just want to thank everybody, and again, stay safe out there.